We're lucky enough to be in Newcastle for the Hunter, but also up here in Newcastle, one of the biggest tickets in town is the Newcastle Knights, and we're lucky enough to have their new coach, Adam O'Brien, join us today. Thanks for joining us, Adam. First of all, how have you fitted in up here, and what's your expectations of this club this year?
Yeah, look, to answer your first question, I've fitted in really well. It's an easy place to fit into. You know, I'm from a country coastal community, grew up that way in Bateman's Bay, obviously, and then to come here, it's very similar for my wife and myself. There's probably a little bit more choice in Newcastle. It's a little bit bigger, but the community been really, really good for us. Very accommodating so far, hence there's been no wins or losses at the moment, so I understand that. Look, all I expect from the boys at the moment, I'm not even looking into the season, I'm looking at the first 6 weeks. And what I expect of them is, a winning mentality for the first 6 weeks. We don't have to wait till round one to have a winning or a competitive mindset. And look, we're a week and a half in, Laurie, and they're showing me signs of, they really want to lean in on this season.
And obviously they need to set the standard on the training paddock, and you've learnt your trade under two great coaches in Craig Bellamy and Trent Robinson. Are they different in their philosophies to the game? What have you learnt of them? Are they similar, or are they completely different?
Yeah, completely different, I'd say, which was great for me because I've certainly moulded, my philosophies in coaching on Craig's mentality. Haven't spent so much time with him. He certainly moulded me, but it was important that, look, the Roosters are a winning culture, and it was important for me to round out my apprenticeship before taking on a role like this, to go and, look, there's more than one way of doing things. So, yeah, look, I guess, Craig's way of, the boys are extremely fit through the pre-season. They hit round one running, whereas Robbo will build into the season a lot more. Look, I think the teams are a reflection of your coach's character. You think Robbo's team's highly intelligent, very tactical and skillful. Storm will play for 3 days because Bellyac will work for 3 days.
So. You're lucky enough to have done your apprenticeship under those two guys. When people talk about creating a winning culture, what does that mean, and how do you go about creating it?
Oh, look, I guess it's what you highlight and what you don't accept will start to create a winning culture. Some of the standards that you're happy to walk past, well, you can expect them to drip into your game. Once they drip inside the culture or the fabric of your club, they'll come out in footy. I don't think there's no switch we can turn on Friday night and expect to get a result. So we have to live a certain way Monday through to Friday, and give ourselves any edge we can get on our opposition there. So again, it's constant reinforcement when it's not just about catching guys out; it's about catching them in too.
Adam, one of the things about your time in those two systems is you've been an assistant coach. You're now the head coach. I'm sure it was asked in the interview. What gives you the confidence that you can fulfil the role of head coach?
Yeah, I think I've done a lengthy apprenticeship. I'm not a guy that's dipped into coaching for 2 years and said, "Yep, I can do this." I've been through playing for no points with salary cap scandals. I've been through 5-6 game losing streaks. Been to 6 grand finals, won 4. I didn't. The players won them, but I've been a part of grand final week 6 times, and the last 4 in a row. So I don't think there's many more qualified assistant coaches out there. And look, I think I owe a large amount to Craig. The last probably 3 years of my coaching apprenticeship down there was a senior assistant role. I was a lot more involved in recruitment and retention, training programs, stuff like that. So that sort of rounded me out. I've done a little bit of media, albeit not as much as I've had to do here.
Newcastle's one of the most passionate rugby league towns in the country. How does this playing group, and how are you going to deal with that pressure this year? Because there was a lot of pressure last year on the playing group. They were travelling well, then fell apart. Yep. Is it something that's in the back of the players' mind still, how much their supporters want them to have success?
Yeah, I think it would be, yeah. It's not something that we dwell on every single day. I've made that clear to them. The players hurt just as much at the end of last year. Probably one of the signs of that was I was here. I come straight up after the grand final with the Roosters. they weren't required to be here, yet we had 19 one day, 22 the next day and 23 the next, doing conditioning sessions, and I wasn't even out here, I was just driving in. So that was all of their own accord. So look, they're early signs, but you know, I can tell just from what they've done with the sessions I've been a part, they're a great group. They haven't shirked anything yet. But they're fully aware. They want to make the region proud. They understand that people work really hard all week to come and stand on that hill and have a beer and just be proud of them. They understand that, and they want that too. And I guess the other part of it is, you know, if they're going to accept the pats on the back, well, you have to accept the boots up the bum too, you know.
Sometimes teams can fall into the mentality of, well, we've got a Kalen Ponga in a team, we've got Mitchell Pearce, and sit back and wait for them to do something. I was interested in your comment, I think it was last week, about everyone needs to step up and everyone needs to know their role and everyone needs to get it done themselves rather than sitting back and waiting. So is that a big part of your coaching this season?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think, you know, a heavy reliance on individuals, well, you're not guaranteed that the individual's going to wake up fine on game day. So, you know, as I said in the article that you would have read, you know, we don't just not play because, you know, Mitchell or Kalen aren't playing well, we aren't feeling well. Everyone has a role. That's the thing that I learned from Craig. Look, it's an easy game to play when everybody's doing their job, you know. So to have a heavy reliance just on individuals, that's not our sport, you know.
3 spots to fill. Where do you need to strengthen?
Look, certainly the outside backs area. Whilst I feel I'm really excited by Bradman Best, Stafford Togg, really promising young kids, as good as 18-year-olds as I've seen in a pre-season program, week 1. Look, but, you know, at the end of the day, and I've said publicly, like, you play with 5 outside backs every single week without injuries, and we only have 5. We have a few training trial positions here at the moment. We've added Anari Tuala from North Queensland Cowboys. There's some depth. I certainly think we'll chase for one more. It won't be a top liner. You know, we're not in the market money-wise, or I don't want to bring someone in to necessarily roadblock Bradman and Stafford either. I've got guys like Tao Moga and Heimel Hunt here, but certainly an outside back. And then the other two, Jimmy, we're going to sit on. You know, I feel really comfortable. Won't have any excuses with our roster as it is. But look, we'll just sit on the other 2 spots. I mean, they're not. It's not huge money that we're talking about either, but look, you just never know what comes up down the track.
When you mention Newcastle Knights, you always mention Kalen Ponga, a guy that hasn't still reached his full potential. They tried him as a 6 last year, didn't work out, they moved him back to 1. You've made it very clear that you are going to keep him in that fullback role. What makes him such a special player, and who have you identified to maybe take over that 6 role? Yeah, look,
I can completely understand why Brownie and the coaching staff looked at Kalen last year as a 6. Look, he's quality wherever you put him, and it might have been the right decision for the team at the time, having Connor being in the team as well. But I just feel he's still got room to develop as the number 1. You know, whilst he's elite, but I still see room in his game to improve. And the good thing about Kalen is he wants to improve in those areas. Look, there's a number of guys in that 6 spot. I see. I like the look of young Crossland. Again, he's a young guy that's, he's only early in his career, and the NRL season's a long season. But you know, certainly Kurt Mann, Connor Watson, they can play there too.
Yeah. All the most successful clubs that I've been a part in, I've watched, have all got strong leaders. Yeah. Is that something that you focus on up here with Newcastle, trying to develop that leadership group and the next generation of leaders coming through?
Yeah, look, not at the moment. I'm treating them, I treat Bradman the same as I treat Junior. You know, they're all just players out there at the moment. The leaders, you know, I'm not going to run with a leadership group because it's the fashionable thing to do at the moment. I expect them all to be behaving and certainly performing in training and in the community as leaders, and I don't care if it's your first week here or you've been here 10 years. There's a certain way that we conduct ourselves in the training and then how we conduct ourselves in the community. So you don't have to be an old guy or speak a lot in meetings to be a good person here. So look, the leadership group will take care of itself. We'll get through the first 6 weeks and the leaders will jump out at us.
Yeah, it sounds to me though, and hearing what you're saying there, is you're all about not only wanting to develop good players, but you want to develop good people.
Yeah, I think they both complement each other. You know, if you're a good person, you're hard-working and respectful, that's going to come out in the game. And look, I understand you don't need to be respectful the whole time you're a footy player for that 80 minutes. But again, it comes back to that, you know, you just can't start to be a professional or a good person Thursday night because you've got a game on Saturday. You need to be doing it all week, you know. So.
Adam, big year for you, big year for the Newcastle Knights. We really appreciate your time coming on the Big Sports Breakfast, and good luck for 2020.
No worries. Thanks for having me.